All right, welcome back. It's now 6 minutes past 7 a.m. If you're still in the house, sipping your coffee or preparing to leave, please just give me 1 hour of your time. And if you get late, don't blame it on me. The show is just about to be nice, okay? You can call your boss that Victor made you late. Welcome to the program. Today being a Tuesday, People and Politics. Let's talk about defending justice. A lot has been happening in the country in the past few days, perhaps weeks, if you all remember. And today I want us to talk about the aspect of defending justice. That is what I want us to talk about. Even you as a Kenyan, do you know you're right? Most of the time people say, I know my right. Okay, that right that you know, how does it help you when you're pushed to the corner? All right, so let's talk about that. Tom Nduku is a criminologist and a background investigator. He's also an expert in so many things, criminal justice. Tom Nduku, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Asante sana.
Please don't investigate us. We are just good people.
No, it's a matter of discussion today.
Right. We are good people. Karibu sana.
Asante.
And Shadrach is an advocate of the High Court, a gentleman who decided to take a break from us. I don't know why. He'll tell us. Shadi.
Yes, Victor. Mzuri sana, thank you. Yes, good morning and good morning to the viewers and the listeners back at home.
Karibu sana.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Asante.
Thank you.
And the only mzee, no, he'll say mzee ni sisi.
Mzee ni wewe.
On a light note, Dr. Richard Bosiri is a lecturer at the University of Nairobi teaching political science. He's taught many people, and many occasions you've met your students on this set.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
And I'm ambassador. You know, my first title is ambassador. And
right.
Yeah.
I stand guided. Karibu sana. Here we are.
All
right. So, gentlemen, let's talk about justice. I don't know whether to start with Shadrach. Shadi.
Yes.
What is justice? I mean, what is justice? Let's start from there.
Yes, yes. You know, I teach law at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa.
Yes.
And often than not, I explain to my students and I tell them that justice is not a cloistered virtue. This is to mean that justice has got so many of its faces. People have different perceptions of what justice is. For someone who's been accused of a crime, justice to him will mean probably getting the lowest punishment or sentence that there is in law.
Yeah.
But when you look at a victim looking at the same situation of the crime, a victim will perceive justice as being the most severe punishment that there is in law, that it will be given to the person that is accused of the crime. So really, after all is said and done, justice is a question of perception. It's how you want to look at things. People have different perceptions and understanding of what justice is. I have said, I think when we were off the set, I have mentioned that so many people think that criminal defense attorneys are not there to serve justice. In any event, I have heard Dr. Daktari here, the ambassador, mentioning or of course hinting that, you know, the way they look at criminal defense attorneys is that they are there as paid, you know, they are paid agents to cause a miscarriage of justice, which is very far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that when you have a criminal advocate, a criminal defense attorney, his responsibility is to ensure that justice is done also to the victim by ensuring that the prosecutor, the prosecution that has come forward with evidence, has brought in cogent evidence, convincing evidence, that evidence is enough and sufficient, well presented, to cause the conviction of the person accused. If there has been lethargical investigations, if the investigators were not keen on certain details, it is the responsibility of the defense attorney to ensure that they exploit the loopholes so that this investigator can be taught a few lessons. We do not want a situation where, by going by the legal philosophy of the Blackstone ratio, that we do not want a situation where we have one innocent person going to jail. We would rather have 10 guilty people being acquitted rather than having one innocent person going to jail. That is my understanding of what justice is. Yes.
Okay, Dr. What's justice?
I mean, I would agree with him, but I did not say that the defense attorneys are about subverting perceptions about subverting justice. But it's apparent also that justice, for me, I look at it as a balance. I see even the courts, they have their logo as a balance.
Yeah.
You want to be fair. It's about fairness. It's about truthfulness and finding out the evidence that will help
to tip the scales.
Yeah, to tip the scales that really what has happened can be acceptable as being a fair share of either blame or exoneration in a matter, regardless of whether the attorneys are lethargical or they're zealous to defend their clients. And I would like to say that justice also has to be seen to be done. Someone has been killed, for instance. If someone has been killed, and someone is saying, and people know this guy actually slashed this guy to death, this person to death, and then the defense attorneys are saying he did not kill him, and people saw him killing him. So sometimes I wonder why really are they trying to subvert the truth and to subvert justice? That is the context within which I was saying this, that it must appear to have been done.
Yeah.
People have the information, the public expect a certain verdict out of a case because they also have the evidence. Although the court is like, you must bring the evidence. Who is the complainant? Who is this? Who is the other one? Going regalist. But from where I stand, the public expect fairness, truthfulness. They expect a balance. If someone is, a person has been killed and it is known he has died and he has died in my hands, justice for for the public will be if these persons are found guilty and incarcerated. And compensation, perhaps.
Yeah.
Reparations are part of the justice system.
Tom, it seems that justice is double-edged based on what I hear. To you, what is justice? I just want us to open this discussion from that point.
From the investigation point of view,
right.
This is a level framework which is adduced by circumstances that makes the complaint. From then, the investigator takes it on and goes back, build a background investigation, review the incidences, look at the prospect of the case in the benefit of the victim. To a large extent, compare whether there's truthfulness on the grounds of his allegation. And on that basis, the investigator can now comprehend a charge which may go to the DPP to review and see whether there is success in the case as was then reported. So actually, justice on the offender, if I want to borrow leave from what the lawyer is trying to say, maybe that one can be blamed when there is a framing process of an allegation that may not be true. You understand? We want to frame you in a case. Then that is now the onus on the lawyers to prove that indeed these people had got ill motive in the prospect of their complaint. But indeed the justice is in line with the framework of how the complaint has been purposed.
Okay. Yes. So where's the balance between justice and fairness? I'll come to you, Wakili, as well. Justice and fairness.
Yes. You know, justice is the scale as to how you have outweighed the balance of the complaint at hand.
Right.
Like, for instance, now the case that we have at hand. How was the complaint made? Who was the complaint made to? Was it booked? At what level was the complaint made to? If it was at the director of CID, it can go through a letter writing. If it is at the police station, it must be reported an OB. If you make a phone call, the officer in charge at the desk will write it, but will say, I received a phone call from so and so at this time, and this is what he said, and I told him to follow up tomorrow at 8. So you go there now, you review your OB. They can make a further OB or go with the initial OB.
Yes.
You understand? Fairness now comes in with the person who has been charged to investigate the matter. How did you adduce your facts on the complaint? What were your steps as to how you investigated the matter? That is now when the court will either see whether you are one-sided or...
Basically, fairness is about truth.
It's about truth.
Okay.
Yes, it's about truth.
Wakil, is it so?
Now,
Is there truth in
yes, yes.
in quest for justice?
Yes, my very basic understanding of what fairness is. Fairness to me will be...
And justice, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. I begin by fairness because I look at fairness as a feeling.
Right.
Yes, the feeling of an outcome. What you will now perceive to be a just or an unjust outcome. And I said that when you're looking at justice, justice, I mentioned, justice is not a cloistered virtue. This is an understanding made, is a principle in law with the understanding that what we perceive as just might not be necessarily just from another person's perspective. So that if you know, our courts are adversarial. We fight in court. Our courts have not taken the inquisitorial way of approaching disputes. I think the inquisitorial approach will be taken probably, but in criminal trial, it's a fight. It's a fight for the liberty or against, you know, the fight to take away someone's liberty, and another fight to preserve and to protect that liberty of that individual.
Yes.
So it's a fist fight. Just to mention, but you know, to just give it the basic understanding just for a common man. It's a fight. It means that when you are fighting your opponent, you don't give the opponent the places to hit. It is when you're fighting, because I'm a boxer. The weakest, yes, you look at the weakest. His belly has exposed his head. You hit the head. That's how the law works, because it is an adversarial system.
Now when you're in a court session, for example,
yes,
and you're in a boxing ring,
yes,
you don't choose where to punch.
Yes.
So long as there is a knockout.
Yes.
All right?
It's a win.
So then it means then you look at the case or the charge brought by the prosecutor.
Yes, you look at the charge, you look at the evidence surrounding it. Because, you
that's
know,
where you hit.
Let us just speak it quite clearly, even for the members of the public to understand. Sometimes we even have evidence of someone stabbing another one.
Right.
We
Like
have,
I was saying.
We have proof, as Ambassador was saying. But the problem comes when these witnesses are called to account. Some of the witnesses do not come out to give evidence of what they saw, what they heard, what they touched, what they felt.
Why?
Because, you know, some will think that this is my neighbor, I do not want to go and give evidence that will, you know, lead to, you know, him being denied his liberty. Number two, people will be threatened. People will be afraid. We had the ICC in this country, and we know what became of all witnesses, or most of the witnesses that were supposed to give evidence in the ICC court. So we know that some witnesses also turn out dead. So you do not want to, you know, to risk your life by giving evidence where you probably think it is not your business. So because of those shortcomings that are there, sometimes also the manner in which evidence is presented before court. You know, people imagine that because there was a CCTV camera, that it will just be taken to court and it will be adopted as evidence before court. No, there are certain procedures, because these procedures are meant to safeguard the accused person. The accused person in law is taken to be the most favorite child. Is the person that we want to defend, so that we do not have innocent people going to jail. So we put the task so high on the Director of Public Prosecutions to prove the guilt.
So that's where the case begins.
Yes.
Okay.
So from that lens or that perspective, you will probably want to understand, or you might also understand, why people who have been accused of criminal activities, people who think there was quite cogent evidence, turn out now being freed, because of the basis of there was not sufficient evidence. And you will think, why is this person walking out freely, but yet we had the cogent evidence?
Let's just face it. It could be that the prosecutor did his or her work. But now you, as a defense attorney, you're
Yes.
going to pour cold water on it to say that there is no sufficient evidence. That is your work.
Yes, you know, we have...
The way Dr. said, somebody has killed, somebody has stabbed, there is a case here. But did you see me?
There are witnesses that come to court when we have a process called cross-examination. That cross-examination is a tool that is designed by law to ensure that we separate truth from lies. Some of the witnesses that come to court
Yes.
either come to tell lies, come to tell exaggerations. They saw, indeed they saw. You know, I slapped Ambassador once, but now the witness will come and say, I slapped him, I gave him a slap and I kicked his stomach. So now, because of that exaggeration, we will, if successful, I will have impeached the credibility of that witness. So this is to mean that the court, who is an impartial arbiter, sitting at you know, the bench, the court will look at the witness and say that, well, you might have told me so much truth of what became of the circumstance, but because of, you know, some lack of credibility here and there, I will not take your evidence as being the whole truth.
Dr. Sorry for that. Then it means, let's just face it, life isn't fair. from what you can hear from the two gentlemen, life isn't fair at all.
Life isn't fair, as you say, Victor, because in the defense process, in fact, I always say that I would never be a criminal lawyer if I wanted to study law, just for the very reason that often, if I look at it from a religious perspective, I see that it's full of lies, because once you have seen people commit crimes and clearly people are aggrieved, people are grieving, someone has been killed, and you see someone say, Your Honor, he did not kill this guy. And it's known clearly, there is evidence. Of course, in terms of the law and procedures, I might be wrong, but what do we really see as justice? And Shadrach has said that justice is relative. There's no absolute justice. If it's according to the eye of the beholder, then how does that look like?
Okay.
Then we see when
can he answer that question?
The law has been served.
Can he answer that question?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I said that, you see, you do not want the prosecutor to go to get convictions on very scanty evidence. The reason why the defense is there is to ensure that the prosecutor and the investigator here does his job well. If you do your job well, you will have people in jail. People will answer for their offenses. But if you don't do your job well, it means some of the innocent people, I mean, so many people are accused wrongly out here. We have so many people who are accused of having, possession of marijuana, others having defiled, others of rape. So if we lower the bar so low, it means some of the innocent people are going to be inmates in prison. That is why we must ensure that the bar is placed so high. In any event, this is the government. The Director of Public Prosecutions is the government. He has resources, enough resources. He works with the police officers, the DCI, the best DCI that we have in this Africa. So it means that they are well capable of providing cogent information that is going to assist the court in securing a conviction or in ensuring that someone who is innocent gets freed. That is the reason why I'm saying that justice is not really about perception. Is about the work, the effort that you put. If you want people just to,
But when you release, Victor, you release 10 people. He mentioned that you're better off having 5 criminals released than one innocent person being in jail.
Blackstone ratio. That is a legal philosophy.
It could be philosophy, but we are talking about real issues here. That if that is the case, then are we not again even fomenting problems in the society? And you see, the perception of justice, if people feel that there's no justice, even this case, there are many disappearances that we have had in this country. There are many abductions, unaccounted for people, bodies that were picked from dump sites, and parents are crying. Almost 100 people are lost in this country. And we have nothing. Parents are still wondering, how does that augur well in the fabric of our society when we look at national cohesion, We are looking at unity among integration of our people in the country. How do we look at that in the face of where we can say 5 criminals or 10 criminals released is better than one innocent person incarcerated? So we are saying that in the public interest, we should have justice being served and to be seen to have been served. I hear lawyers saying this, justice to be served and to be seen to have been served. Which is the most basic principle that actually helps in the country living together in harmony and even reducing criminality, crimes in our society, and living in harmony. So I find it, you know, for me, that's the direction. What is the purpose of all this?
What is the purpose of all this? But then,
humanity,
even as
human
you come
dignity
in, Tom,
and all that.
it seems that a lot of work now goes back to the investigator, the prosecutor. Does it worry you that, yes, you're doing your work, but somebody is busy punching and pouring, in fact, not cold water, ice cold water on your work?
I think before I answer that, Dr. Hari has got the duty. He's the one who is in charge of sociology.
No, I don't teach sociology.
Political science.
In the political science, actually, sociology is a subtopic there, which actually deals with the human person. He's the one who should be making those guys whom he is teaching to bring up the society well. There are areas that actually goes back to his professionalism. Coming back to what my friend is talking about, you know, we must differentiate the practice and facts. What he's talking about is the practice, how they would want to mix up issues, look at the weakness of the preparation of the IO.
What is IO for the sake of
IO is the investigating officer.
Right.
But you see, in Kenya here, one of the problems that we have, you know, as an investigator, I can tell you, when there is a mix-up in deliverance of a service, then it calls in back to the integrity of the person. You see, Kenya today, people flash a lot of certificates. And within certain level of degree of understanding, you can't have masters and you still go to steal. Because then now, you would tell you that now you are not protecting your education. You are not protecting your whole being. If you see somebody stealing and is holding masters, try to investigate where that masters came from. That should have been the start.
Not the person?
Not the person. Start to investigate.
Okay.
Actually, that is the problem in this country. On account of what you've asked me, you see, investigation starts with the scene of crime.
Excuse me.
How did you approach the scene? And that's why I was complaining that IPOA messed themselves out on this matter. The case was theirs. They went there, relied on the police, and even IG for that matter. When IG stepped in Central Police, he already knew that there was a problem. So what he ought to have done was to take over the investigation, corridor areas, take samples, and then he could even address the public after 3 hours with a preliminary report. But he is also depending on the people he's accusing.
Okay.
The mess in this matter, if I'm to say, until now, we do not know how the CID, the role the CID played, and how they came to arrest this person and leave him in Central.
Okay. I want to take a break. And we come back. I still want to ask this question. Can somebody be sued for lying?
For lying?
Yes.
It depends on the ingredient of your lies. Because even you can jail in court.
Okay.
Yes.
And
it
I want us
depends
to
on the ingredient and how and when.
Get where justice, politics come in. Hiyo ni siasa tu, wakili. Hiyo ni siasa. You know, that's what we say.
But
so
you know,
where is
you people,
politics and justice?
But you people always blame the wrong people. You have actors singing and singers acting.
Let's take a break. Welcome back. There's a gentleman who sent me a message and said that today are we in a law school or what? No, we are not in a law school. We're just trying to make sense of what is there. Gentlemen, welcome back. Now, I ask a question. Where do we draw the line between justice and politics? Because most of the times we'll hear people say, I'm being accused, politically speaking, the allegations against me are politically instigated. We've had this several times. Yes. So where do we draw the line? Wakili will also help us to understand all this. Gentlemen, we've been here.
Yes.
So where do we draw the line? So that we get to understand that where politics is played, we don't mix it with justice and law and order. We distinguish the two. Dr.
Let me begin, if you allow me, Victor.
Yes.
From the point we are accused that we're the ones who are not teaching properly, perhaps our curriculum
Defend
is
yourself.
not proper. What I want to say, in fact, and this is what we have international organizations, for example, UNESCO. I worked for UNESCO as a Kenya's ambassador to UNESCO, and I really respect what that institution does, how they view education and what education should do in our society, at the local level, national, and even globally, inculcating certain values that will change. The intention is a transformative or transforming education. Education that transforms our behavior on how we relate to each other, on how we relate to other nations.
Yeah.
You know, how we can create, when we relate to our environment, how we can create a just society. That's what the issue. How we can create a just society where we have respect for each other, respect for rule of law, and all this. Now, in a country such as ours, you have asked to politics and justice. There is so much, I would say, without fear of contradiction, there's so much political interference in the justice process. You have talked about the IG here. The IG telling us, I listened to him outside the Central Police Station behind our university there. And he said certain things, and even mentioned DIG Lagat, and he was standing next to him. People are saying behind. I thought I saw him to his side, and they were standing there, and he said he's the one who was wronged. And DIG did not say anything. But I want to say, who knows, maybe the IG was actually responding to orders from above. I heard the investigator here was saying he could have investigated and then take 3 hours, then issue the statement. You are given orders, say this, issue this statement. Perhaps they never imagined that we would get where we are today. I would imagine, because these people are also playing politics. And for me, that is the really problem. We must have our public officers who actually adhere to the public officers' ethics. They should read even the Public Service, Chapter 13 of the Constitution, and see what values and ethics of public officers. Being professional, doing their work professionally, not taking cue from anybody else, but on the basis of the evidence, and also looking at the public interest. Unfortunately, when we mix politics, then we start losing sight of justice or public interest, truthfulness. We go far away from what justice is supposed to be, and then we serve political interests rather than serving justice as really the bedrock of the fabric of our society.
Okay. Wakili.
Well, you know, politics and the law are brothers and sisters. They have a way in which they influence each other. Because you will see that sometimes it will take a lot of political push for us to have some legal reforms. And then when we have legal reforms, this law is going to ensure that we control, or we control the manner in which our politics is done. So sometimes and often it is very difficult for you to separate between the workings of the law and politics. But be that as it may, there is a way in which the law is taken to supersede the political will, because politics is always about convenience, is what is about what is popular at the moment. That is what is politics. But what the law becomes static. The law becomes a reminder of what you thought was good at a certain point in your life. So that because, you know, people have different changes in moods, they have changes in perceptions, so they will want to change the law because of their change in their political stand. Right now, if someone resurrected from the dead, someone who died in the year 2022, if they resurrected from the dead and found that the former deputy president, the current former deputy president, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, is now serving in the opposition and he's not in the ruling party, the party that he fought so hard to have in office, someone will be very shocked. And that is how fragile politics is, as opposed to law. Because the law remains static until it has been subjected to a procedure in parliament.
So politics is dynamic.
Yes, that is the point, really. So when you want to look at politics, our politicians know that too well. And they use the law to influence also the politics of the day. If you want to go back, you know, during the times of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, and, you know, if you want to look at the history behind, you know, this crime called robbery with violence, and the rationale behind robbery with violence being an unbailable offense, as at that point, it was used as a political tool to ensure that if you have a different political persuasion than the ruling class of that time, then you will be taken in of very frivolous grounds of robbery with violence. And then, because the law then did not allow you to enjoy what we have now as your right to bail, then you will be in a certain detention, they will keep you in some cold room there, then they will control the politics of the day. Same thing happens even in the current situation now. If for some reason, you know, our political class are a class of thieves, and I'm sorry, and I'm saying this with a lot of respect. They know too well.
Be sorry. That's what they are.
The ambassador has said I should not be sorry. I am not going to be sorry.
Okay.
So they know too well that, you know, this one has some scandal, the other one has some scandal, and they will just keep mum about it. Up until a time when you have now taken a different political persuasion from the political class of the day, those who are deemed to be politically correct at that moment. Then what was your skeleton will now be taken out. You know, you will now be accused of having traded, you know, abused your office by, you know, trading with someone who was...
KRA remittance.
Yes, KRA remittance. You know, that is how now politics of this country is used now to control.
What I'm trying to say is that politics, law is used politically speaking when it is relevant.
Of course. You know, our leaders, our leaders rule by law. They think the law is an inconvenience. We do not have a rule by law. We have, you know, when it is convenient, we change the law. When it is not convenient, we implement the law.
You said about politicians, but what about Wanjiku? Who doesn't want to play politics? Because Wanjiku doesn't have that frame or that platform to play politics when law is applied.
Of course, Wanjiku is always a victim of, you know, the loss of trust. We trust people. But what now is given back or reciprocated to us is that loss of trust.
Okay.
Will almost often go to the streets to demonstrate, will be picketing, will be complaining on social media, on this show by Victor Olo to complain.
That Wanjiku will be having a different platform to express herself when law is applied to her unfairly.
Well,
because going to the street is not the right way to seek for justice then.
I think there is a confusion here with what we are trying to discuss.
Go ahead.
Professionalism does not allow politics anywhere. Professionalism is a question of integrity and ethics, completely. The moment you are swayed to make a wrong decision because of political appointment, then you are wrong. And that is where now we should deviate from. He's mentioned something to do with robbery with violence.
Yes.
I don't think a politician would be jailed with robbery with violence in this country unless he participated. Because there are ingredients that brings that charge. In fact, when we are talking in the set, we need not to actually misinform the public. There are charges that cannot see the light of the day unless the ingredients are very open. In fact, he should be saying that politics has messed us more. That even where we had achieved a progression have now been turned to be very easy. That's why there's too much robbery. And then again, where investigators can be blamed is that the ingredient of robbery with violence was lowered to even somebody who has just threatened you with a knife. So it depended also on the investigator. Actually, that's how most of the people ended up being released or made to suffer in jail. You see, the only thing that has helped this country is that many people do not know their rights.
Yes.
If people have been taken to jail and have been released under Section 86, that's why, to them, if you are released under Section 87A, they are very happy because they have already released you.
All right.
But they don't know that you can be charged again.
So
those are the areas that they need to help this country with, because they are the ones who are practicing law, and they're the ones who are also living those chances. Because this is a progression where they negotiate with those prosecutors. I don't have my witness, just release him under Section 87A. He's taken his cut, he's gone. He has not repaired society. That boy has not left to steal. You see? And they negotiate in this process. These are facts. You see, these are facts.
Present the witnesses.
These are facts. Sometimes they are the ones who talk to the witnesses.
The defender is getting accused.
No, they are the ones
who negotiate with the prosecutor.
Yes, sometimes they are the ones who negotiate with the witnesses.
That is the name of the game. But that you've raised a very good question, of which I wanted to ask you. Do Kenyans really know their rights? Mtu anasema, najua haki yangu, I know my rights.
They do. They do. Our rights are engraved in our laws and our constitution. And there is so much civic education,
but it seems
political
just
education
that has been done in statement, Daktari. I know my rights. And now when pushed to the corner, you'll realize that there is just so much.
But it's the context. Victor, is the context, and what was mentioned. People are fearing on all this. The context within which we operate, poverty and all these issues, they come to bear on how strong one can stand. And I said one of the education changing us. Do we have the conviction that I can stand and fight for my rights, whatever happens? Knowing that I will stand by what is right, whatever happens. Or I could be given 2 million shillings, keep quiet and praise and sing the songs. God has come to me, has come and visited me with all these bounties. The people know they are right, but their circumstances is the problem. So for us, and I will say, economic rights and other rights, political, name it, actually are all intertwined. So when we are weak in terms of our economic empowerment, then we're vulnerable. We might not be able to defend. Then we say, if I went out to the street, where am I going to leave my children? Or if I want to say and I'm identified, I may suffer certain consequences. But we need to empower our people and ensure that we stand by what is right. Again, that's a question of values, integrity, having those principles engraved in our hearts.
Yes.
That we can come out and defend our rights. But saying they don't know, people know their rights. They know, for example, that election is about casting a ballot for the person that you want to elect. Then at the corner of the polling station, someone stands there with some money, with a bag of money, and gives people 500 shillings. And when they get there, it's like, at least this one has given me something. So they vote for them. Don't they know that they have the right to choose the leadership, not through such influences? People know that, but there are vulnerabilities, and I'm not excusing their vulnerabilities, but I'm saying
about that.
We need to stand strong. We need to stand strong as a Kenyan people. For instance, again, the environmental rights. People know what is right, what should be done, but their circumstances compel them to do things otherwise. Does the state, the management of public affairs, the officers who manage public officers, actually reinforce?
Is there
reinforce that behavior, positive behavior?
Again, this is a question to all of you. Is there a threshold or a limit of rights that a person should work with or know? When you say, I know my rights, rights to life, right of movements, rights to expression and all that, what is the threshold? So that when pushed to the corner, you can easily defend yourself to a certain level before you get a legal representation. Wakili?
Well, Victor, permit me to take a different perspective from what the good ambassador has mentioned about people knowing their rights. I am a person who lives so much into the community. And I have been doing a lot of work in Kajiado North constituency, in Kajiado, and even Nairobi, everywhere.
You'll tell us more about that.
So I will tell you for a fact.
Don't assume that.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, we live in society as well.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And I will tell you for a fact that people don't know their rights. But even while I say so, I must also quickly mention that people have a sense of what is right. But they really do not know what their rights are. And I'll just give you a very basic example.
Just a sense.
Yes. They have a sense.
Which people, Victor? Are we talking about the general public?
We are here to speak about the common man.
Yes.
Wanjiko, Omolo, Atieno, we are here to speak about them. Because you see, these are the elites in our community. I mean, Ambassador, for all we know, Ambassador knows his rights. My very good friend here, the investigator, also knows his rights. So we are speaking about Wanjiko. This is the person that is watching us. The common man. Gen
Zs don't know their rights. They are the 70% of our population in Africa.
I'm saying, yes,
They do.
Let me just return the microphone back to me. So I'm saying, a majority of us do not know our rights.
Yeah.
But we have a sense of what is right. We know that we feel this is not right, we feel this is wrong, So, and you get this feeling when you interact with the common person. For one example, if you want to look at people addressing their needs, when it comes to political accountability, if people have bad roads, what the political elites or what the elites will do in the society is this. My friends here, instead of championing for good roads, they will probably go and buy an SUV. Because they have that money, they have the money in their pockets to go and address that issue. If they have a problem with security, what they do, we have electric fences, we have guards, we have cameras.
Dogs.
These are the people who know for sure they have a right to security. But they go on and hire G4S, they will hire HR security, they will hire, which is good. I mean, these are men and women in this country who are also looking for employment.
Yeah.
But this is just to underscore and to tell you that indeed, even while people have a sense of what is right, they really do not know their rights. And they cannot fight to enforce their rights.
Let me interject. State failure, for instance, that is actually state failure. If the state fails to provide security, and I hire my security, it does not mean that I don't know my rights. I know my rights, but the state has failed to provide or to respect those rights and provide for them.
So, Victor, now that is where I get in.
People know.
Because if Ambassador knows his right for sure to security, then the question will be, if you know what belongs to you, don't you know ways and means of enforcing that, as opposed to taking a shortcut, which of course tells us that you're not keen on enforcing your right. So it means if people are not building roads, if we have people who are not maintaining our security, and we're not putting them to account, we are actually encouraging them to be negligent on duty. We are telling them that it is okay for you not to build our roads. It is okay for you not to provide security because I have an alternative. And yet, this person is paid by your taxes to be in that office to provide that which he's supposed to provide to you, the security and all these things.
Yeah, that's a different
Victor, the context, actually, let me mention something, Victor.
Yes.
Please,
I want to bring Tom in this.
Yes. I mentioned about context, which is very important. For example, the government does not give capitation to schools. Yeah? Delays the capitation.
Yes.
The parent wants the child to be in school, and they are asked to pay some money to maintain the students at school.
Yes.
And the parent pays. Not that the parent is not aware of the rights, but state failure and the context within which the parent finds herself or himself compels them to provide an alternative. And there is nothing wrong by providing an alternative, but there is something wrong that the state does not meet its responsibility, or those actually have the responsibility to take care of these rights are not doing it.
Ambassador, it's wrong. That is
it is wrong. I am saying it is wrong.
You are encouraging bad behavior.
That's not what I'm saying. We are agreeing between me and you that, but what I'm disagreeing is that it does not mean they are not aware of their rights. We're saying how can we ensure that the public now is competent enough to stand up for their rights. That is the difference.
Yes, Tom.
I
love the way Daktari has given you
No,
that mic.
Doctor.
Go ahead.
Right. Because Daktari wants to, Daktari thinks that we are his students here. And one of the things is that Daktari,
possible.
you are the ones actually who are actually misusing this society. Because I would want to tell you, look at the people who actually went to school in the early 80s. Yes. Most of these guys were just taught by UTs. Actually, untrained teachers, people probably who did not even perform to get to A level. But those guys were dedicated to this society, and they made people who are professors today. I believe you in your village.
Even him.
Even in your village.
Yeah, I was taught by such people.
Yes. So why didn't you both leave?
foreigners.
From when did you start demonstrating? When you want to talk about the right of a society. You know, right and knowing are two different issues. Because what informs you about the right you're talking about? That is where the challenge is.
I ask a question. Are there certain rights that Wanjiku should know? As I step out of my house, these are my rights. Even when I'm in my house, these are my rights.
You know, rights, actually, if we had a justifiable society, right starts with the government. And the government has an official to the level of assistant chief.
Thank you.
So assistant chief,
yes.
That's why assistant chief is allowed to be calling barazas. What matters, where the question lies, is he an assistant chief who is up to the threshold?
You. I want us to do something here, and I only have 5 minutes to finalize this, gentlemen. Tom, on the front page of that local daily,
yes,
you have, that's a Daily Nation?
Yes.
Please just raise it and show it to your camera. Where's your camera? Front page, front page, front page, front page.
Front page?
Yes, front page. What's on the front page of the Daily Nation? Just read it out for us.
How Lagarde fell.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the explainer there? If you can read it.
Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagarde, finally yields to sustained public pressure and steps aside to allow for investigation into the killing of teacher cum blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. What started with a defamatory post on social media now threatens to end the career of the police force second in command while stoking anger over extrajudicial killings and President Ruto's regime.
Thank you. Dr. On the front page of the Standard?
Now,
you can just raise it for the camera.
I don't know why my camera,
yeah,
the
that's
camera
is. Yeah, that's the camera.
No. It says no, just resign.
No, just resign.
Just resign.
Explainer?
Even as Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagarde announced that he was stepping aside following pressure over the killing of Albert Ojwang after his name repeatedly came up in the matter. Public anger only intensified. Many now demand his resignation and prosecution, like others already in court. Kenyans remain steadfast in their push for justice. They see through the familiar tactic of diffusing outrage with symbolic gestures, stepping aside only to be quieted instead later.
Thank you. All right, so in 1 minute, I only have 2 minutes. Do we have the word stepping aside in the law?
No, this is just another, semantic
because
gymnastics.
The two, yes, stepping aside.
Yes,
does it appear anywhere?
These are semantic gymnastics meant to just, play safe in the situation or circumstance. The only befitting thing will have been for either the Deputy Inspector General of Police to be interdicted, to resign, to retire, or to be dismissed from employment. Some of these creations, it's a creation he's making as though this is his office. This is not his office. This is a public office. You don't choose when to step aside. If it is your work, you will choose when to step aside for you to go for a holiday and to come back. But this is public office. There are certain parameters through which we operate. This creation he has come up with of stepping aside, I don't know where it is coming from, for sure. We must be, we must be taught. We are students. The professor is here. We can be taught and exposed to this new area of law called stepping aside. I have not seen it anywhere.
Does it appear anywhere, Tom?
Well, in the ethics of practice, when you say that you have stepped aside, it means that there are consultations which have actually told you to step aside. There is an authority.
Okay.
which has actually investigated the issues internally, and they've seen that you have a question to answer. Now you are asked to step aside to face the process of the law. What matters now, Victor, before I can step out, because I don't know whether you are going to give me another 1 minute.
No, we are done.
The question here is, the manner this investigation is going is wrong. We need to implore the Judicial Commission of Inquiry to have a listen to every incident, every participant, anybody who has any information on this. Because here now, the whole center of police service is implicated. And in that angle, I would tell you, we can now not, the public are not going to trust the police anymore. So the only way this country can move forward is to bring Judicial Commission of Inquiry. That is what the president remains with.
Thank you. Dr.
I would say, Victor.
10 seconds, if you can.
Yes, I can say, Victor, that in fact, when you were here last week, I said the president should have fired him. Yeah, because the buck stops with the president. This is a serious issue of security and also public interest. So Lagate's resignation, or even resignation, whatever it is, we should not see it really as a step, really positive step towards sorting out this matter. Lagate should have stepped aside immediately. Was mentioned by his boss, if he has the integrity.
Yeah.
But because of lack of it, he has stayed for more than almost 10 days now to tell us he's stepping down. What kind of person is he? A public officer who behaves like that? I would have stepped aside if I'm innocent. Another thing is, I don't know how this investigation is going to go, and I agree with Tom. He's saying that we need an independent, an inquiry to be done into this matter and the other deaths that have happened in this country that I didn't explain. Reason being, in the middle of this, we see publicly the father saying he has been given money. There are things that are happening that are likely to injure this process. What if the father said, I'm no longer interested? Is that justice? Are we changing our country for the better? Are we ending these extrajudicial killings by the police, and I would say by the state? I'll end it there.
What a way to end that discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. I think we've done well today. We have done well. The question is, do you know your rights? The question is, do you know your rights? Even you, Wakili, do you know your rights?
Yes.
There's a point where your rights could be...
Yeah, fight for mine.
Exactly. So you also need to fight for your right. And if possible...
your rights end, somebody else's rights start.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
So
but
we
people
need to...
confuse between rights, duties, and obligations. They start begging where they have a right. And they start pushing where they should be begging.
But the common denominator is we need to follow the law.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Dr. Richard Bosiru is a lecturer of political science, University of Nairobi. Asante sana for coming. Shadrack Omboi, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, also joining me on set, and Tom Nduku, who is a criminal justice and a background investigator. He's an expert in that area. Gentlemen, asante sana for coming to the show. And you, as a viewer, thank you so much for your valid company. Goodbye. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.